Welcome. We're going to get right into the reading guide for Divine Days. We've discussed this book before, and given the huge reception that video received, I want to make sure to provide some additional guidance. It's been a little bit since I did that other video. Now, this is a very big novel. Let me just show it to you here. Big novel. And understandably, when you see this, it can be very intimidating. But the goal of this video will be to make your transition into this book much easier and take the edge off your hesitation. Our first video on Divine Days was a plea to save the book. And for those of you who watched it, you heard about the book's fraught publication history. The fire that destroyed most of the publisher's inventory, the uncorrected errors, and omissions that made it into the first edition, and also just the enduring inventory issues its revival has endured. To be clear, this is an outstanding literary achievement, but for reasons beyond the author's control, it's never really seen the recognition it deserves. This is why I'd like you to join me in elevating and promoting this book. Buying or even checking out from the library was the first step. Now, the next step is to actually read the book, which will be our focus for today. The primary issue for many readers is simply opening the book. Now, why would that be a difficult step? So let's take another look at this book. Look, its thickness, its weight. It all screams, I can just pick this up later. But later becomes days, weeks, and months later. Soon it's gathered dust, and it's a constant reminder of a task left undone. To help you with this problem, I created a guide so that you can view for free over on my Instagram page how to go about reading this book. On the second and third pages of that guide, you'll find a recommended schedule for reading. The chapter lengths are not uniform, so the guide will help you pace your reading. This schedule is also, it's not a rule, so you can adapt it to fit your own reading pace. I'll place a sample of the schedule up on the screen now, so you can see what it looks like. But the full schedule, again, will be on my Instagram page. The schedule is divided into two speeds. I plotted one timeline for a slower, steadier reading speed. The other timeline includes recommendations for a quicker pace. Divine Days works well in both 60th page sessions and also 100 plus page sessions. So either track will put you on a good pace to finish the book. However, the reading speed is ultimately, it's up to you. So if you want to find stopping places that work better for you, do that. The key to reading anything difficult is simply to break it down into parts that work for you. This is not a race, unless you want it to be. The goal is actually to finish the book for your own feeling of accomplishment, not to win an imaginary speed prize. So, if you want to read this book, take a step. Even stop this video. Read 10 pages. If it doesn't bite or open a trapdoor in the abyss, you've won your day. The second difficulty you may face is simply reading through the book's style shifts, or we will call them voice shifts. The book has several main characters who are at the center of these changes in voice. They are, first, the main character, Joubert Jones. He's also the narrator for most of the novel. He's just returned from being stationed over in Germany, and he discovers that a neighborhood legend, Sugar Groove, is missing or perhaps even dead. He chooses to investigate. The story proves so rich that he wants to write a play about Sugar Groove's life. It's going to be called, wait for it, Divine Days. Over the course of a week, he travels through his neighborhood to conduct interviews with a host of big local characters. Sugar Groove is another significant character, probably the second most significant character. He appears in memories and recollections over this next week through Joubert Jones's interviews. He's a local legend with a mysterious past. The third character is W.A.D. Ford. He's a trickster character in the Yoruba tradition. He's this local cult leader, and the cult is also called Divine Days. He's also Sugar Groove's foil, which simply means that he's in contrast to Sugar's character. For Aunt Eloise, he's Joubert's aunt. She owns a local newspaper and also a place called the Nightlight Lounge. Joubert works at both of these locations. She's also a surrogate mother after both of his parents died. The next character goes by two names, Amani and De Loreto. She is Joubert's unrequited love interest. But more than that, she's a local artist who finds meaning by creating Black art. She's involved in a sub-narrative that runs parallel with a central element in the main plot. The final significant character, although there are others, his name is Willie Main, and he's owner of the local barbershop. He's also the neighborhood storyteller and holder of the local legends. He's known for his long, rambling, truth-adjacent neighborhood stories. Much of the plot unfolds through Joubert's conversations with or about these other characters. So when he talks to other neighborhood people, the narrative or writing style adopts characteristics of their voices. Joubert's conversation with Willie Main, for example, takes up the whole of chapter 14, which is also the climax of the book's chaotic voice shifts. As you may have gathered, chapter 14 is also the book's most difficult chapter. It covers a vast neighborhood epic, and its storyteller, Willie Main, weaves through a legion of different topics. This chapter alone has 5 or 6 voice changes, which, at least to me, can be very disorienting. But if you know about these changes, that chapter and the book is much easier to follow. Within the guide that I mentioned earlier, I charted a few major voice changes in each chapter. For example, when Joubert recollects Sugar Groove's past stories in a memory, the narrative voice adopts what's called a Faulknerian style. This simply means that it adopts elements of American author William Faulkner's writing. The style is not meant to be a perfect one-to-one copy. Mercifully, Divine Days has much shorter sentences. However, we can see William Faulkner's influences in the parallels to a genre called Southern Gothic, which includes a few characters' associations with the Compson family. In fact, Forrest loosely but explicitly compares the Compsons with his Bloodworth family in chapter 7. At another point, Joubert's interviews take readers through a 19th century legacy about his family's ancestors in New Orleans. These sections adopt a voice similar to a popular writing style from the period called sentimentalism. Think, for example, Clotel by William Wells Brown and Iola Leroy by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. The language recounting the family's dramatic tragedies adopts this very emotional or melodramatic tone, just like the two novels I just mentioned. Some other voice changes are less defined, but they're still noticeable. When Joubert interviews Reverend Roper, the Reverend has what we would call the spirit, and his voice is very sermon like. So the narrative becomes very excited and just spiritually inspired. At yet another point, Joubert takes a few moments in the evening to have a few drinks. When he's overindulged, the narrative voice matches his state of mind. The writing's description became very vague and just jointed. And the best way to describe these sections is absurd and surreal, much like drunkenness. The author Leon Forrest pushes the idea that oral traditions are extremely important to Black history. So these shifts in writing style and voice have a significant purpose. They express the central importance of the storyteller's perspective in shaping a story and in shaping history, memory, and life. On a much larger scale, these voices also reflect the prominence of storytelling and literature to the broader scope of Black traditions. This last topic that I mentioned is one of many important themes in the book, and Forrest has plenty to tell us about it in Divine Days. Some of these themes are elusive, which creates a significant challenge to really finding meaning in Divine Days' chaos. Again, in the guide that I mentioned earlier, I list several themes you may consider while reading the novel. These themes, just a short list here, include the Great Migration, which Forrest mentions specifically is also an important thematic foundation for Sugar Grove and Joubert's story. There are two forest counties in the book, one in Mississippi and one in Illinois. This is meant to link the South to cities like Chicago in the North. And it hints at a transitional pattern from history of a larger population. During the main plot, Joubert uncovers Sugar Grove's flight from the south to the north. But other characters, including some of the minor ones we learned about earlier, they express similar family stories. So the theme of historical transition has this wider implication than just Sugar Grove and Joubert. In Divine Days, the legacy of the Great Migration instigates deeper roots in change and struggle. Speaking of change and struggle, the next theme is directly linked to this idea. Forrest repeats this quote several times: make a way out of no way. In fact, he italicizes it for readers so they don't miss it. In Kenneth Warren's essay on this book, he mentions that Forrest saw this quote as demonstrative of Black folks' greatest strength. He says throughout history, Black Americans were put in impossible positions, but found a way out of no way. He also connects it with improvisation in jazz, in literature, in spirituality, and in life. I'll give you two more themes, but I have many more ideas in the guide, so you can check those out. I'm just trying to keep this short. The satisfying thing about reading books like Divine Days is that they offer many, many possibilities for interpretation. And for example, any good literary critic will help you see something in a text that may not have previously been seen. You can be one of those critics. It's one of the reasons that I like that Kenneth Warren essay that I keep on mentioning. He has lots of really good insight in there. This is a characteristic of effective literature. A work of poetry or prose can shift and change depending on your angle of vision. And indeed, when a text is relevant to its readers, these perspectives can have broader implications for your ability to perceive anew the world's biggest dilemmas. Going back to the quote, making a way out of no way, Joubert thinks in opposite pairs, or what we call binaries, like computer language. So when he confronts complex situations, he tends to reconcile these contradictions by assigning them to categories like good or bad, or sacred or profane. As Joubert seeks answers to Sugar Groove's disappearance, he also seeks other life answers as well. But he repeatedly impedes his own progress when he falls back into these simple competing pairs. One of these competing pairs is the sacred and profane, which is a recurring theme. In several instances, Joubert places Sugar Groove on a pedestal, but he demonizes W.A.D. Ford. In chapter 14, Willie Main teaches Joubert a lesson that I'm not going to spoil here, but I will say it shows Joubert that Sugar Groove was not such a divine figure. For his and others' survival, Sugar Groove lived both the sacred and the profane. This simultaneity upsets Joubert's ability to see Sugar Groove as a purely angelic figure and make order out of chaos. In addition to the themes sacred and profane, Joubert attempts to find truth in his journey, and he tries to segregate it from fiction. But he can't escape one reality. All of the oral histories and all of the fiction, from Ellison to Shakespeare, they provide, in a sense, something truer than truth. They're able to create meaning and insight where factual accounts can't. Willie Main makes this exact point in chapter 14 as he shatters Joubert's youthful naivete. Such a large book is open to more interpretations than these alone. And in fact, Divine Days has a small but quality list of critical articles devoted to seeing meaning in the text. If you purchase the orange edition of the novel, you'll see two analyses, one from Kenneth Warren and one a preface from Zachary Price. Both of these offer additional insights into the book. Take a look at these for additional perspectives. You may just find something that shifts your angle of vision. The final major obstacle is understanding the significance of the novel's overall structure. The book's timeline is roughly similar to James Joyce's plot in Ulysses. And this is an ambitious parallel to make. Joyce's Ulysses, in turn, is a reference to the alternate Latinized name of Odysseus, who is from Homer's epic, The Odyssey. Homer's protagonist, Odysseus, takes 10 years after the Trojan War to find his way home to his family. And during his epic journey, he encounters several episodes, each with a new challenge. Now, Joyce's main character, Leopold Bloom, in contrast, simply just treks over Dublin in a single day. The reduction of Odysseus's voyage to Bloom's day-long walk around Dublin is actually part of Joyce's joke on his readers, because it simply equates Odysseus's epic journey home to a simple man's wanderings around Dublin for the day. Like Divine Days, Joyce's humor undercuts the self-seriousness of Ulysses' prose as well as each character's quest for meaning. So, what does this mean for Divine Days? Forrest's tone may be similarly tongue-in-cheek as Ulysses. Joubert takes himself very seriously, but his youthful perspective often reflects a naive outlook on life. However, Forrest also likes to subvert and reassert his tone and then do it again. So, on the other hand, Joubert confronts some pretty significant personal and community demons, which also, in turn, they undermine the novel's lighter tones. So you have this cycle. Now, in this way, Forrest repeatedly shakes up the book and disrupts Joubert's attempts at stabilizing any sort of foundation that he has. While this sounds like regression, in the course of the novel, this chaos enables what Forrest calls a creative and productive force. And that idea is central to understanding Divine Days. Second structural element, but I think this is related to the first. Joubert's week, like Odysseus, like Leopold Bloom's, is a physical, mental, and spiritual journey, which, altogether now, depicts a classic journey motif. I'm only joking because this story device comes up a lot in literature. It's practically in every story in American literature. A journey motif is a plot structure that dramatizes a character's personal growth over time, which is accompanied by the character's physical progress through space and geography. That is, they travel and then they also demonstrate personal growth. But Forrest also complicates this idea that growth occurs through a journey. A journey motif can also represent its opposite, the status quo. While personal and community progress is certainly the end goal of Divine Days, Joubert's journey includes many, many false revelations. That's why the book is so long. Progress in Divine Days is less linear and more jagged. Whereas a journey motif may include bumps along the way, its representation in heroic fiction, such as the Odyssey, is traditionally linear. Joubert's path, and through memory, Sugar Groove's historical path, is littered with broken progressions that repeatedly undermine the hero's journey. This is why Forrest returns to the passage A Way Out of No Way. His journey motif has starts and stops, twists and turns, and ultimately a path through which creation and creative energies forge new directions by necessity, when the only way is seemingly no way out. One last thing. I mentioned the name Hans Hensen earlier. It's frequently repeated in the story, but it's not really all that significant until almost the end. The name represents a noteworthy repressed memory that bubbles up in odd, confusing times. But I'm not going to reveal that part because it's kind of a big thing in the book. You'll see why when you finish the novel. I dare say the novel's epic length also implicates its readers in its journey, especially through its meaty 1,200 pages. Its reading will span days or even weeks for you, and it gives us a chance to speculate how many ways Joubert grows or doesn't. Likewise, you can chart your own growth from the first page to the last. Surviving up until its last page will tell you something about yourself. With its completion, you will have conquered an important challenge and hopefully demonstrated to yourself your own significant intellectual capacity. And my hope is that this guide helps you along the way. Don't forget to find the link to the guide on my Instagram. It may be found in this channel's heading. You can find the written guide there on the Tilting at Tomes Instagram presence. Thank you for listening. I wish you a happy reading. This has been Tilting at Tomes. I'm Ben.